I look back to see where the other two girls were that I was snorkeling with, and they're not there. They're not to my left. So then I turn all the way around, and they're not there. Then I turn back around to the whale shark, and it's not there. And I'm like,
No.
oh, yeah, like it's gone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Chasing Wild podcast, your home for all the best content on conservation, wildlife, and adventure. Our mission is to bring the wild to you. We're your hosts, Jake Johnson, Dean Dudzik. Dean, how are we doing today?
We are doing good. It's the time we're recording, just approaching the holiday season. So we've both been busy. I've got some cookies on standby over here that I might be munching on while we're talking today, or while you're
Nice.
telling your story. So just also finished booking my trip to Peru, which I guess I haven't talked about on the show yet, but
Ooh, yeah.
that'll be happening at the end of this year, going into the new year, going with four of my good friends. So that's another thing that we'll have to talk about when I return from that, and hopefully I have good pictures and stuff. So
Are you
I'm
doing
excited
the
about that.
Are you doing the like touristy trip, or are you doing like the rainforest? Like what are you doing there?
The main focus originally was just to do Machu Picchu,
Okay, yep.
and then one of my friends and myself are staying for an extra few days after the others leave. And I was like, oh man, I'm so close to the Amazon. I don't know when I'm going to be back there again. So I didn't even have to convince my other friend. It was pretty easy, but we're going to be doing a 3-day, 2-night tour in the Peruvian Amazon at the end of the trip. So
Nice.
I'm really excited about that. That's definitely sort of gone above Machu Picchu as far as what I'm looking forward to. Although Machu Picchu will be cool as well. But
Yeah, dude, I went to the Amazon rainforest a couple years ago. You're gonna love it. It's
I
incredible.
know.
I didn't go to
That's,
Machu Picchu. It was
yeah.
one of the Project Dragonfly trips, but it's incredible. You're gonna like it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, so I'm looking forward to that. But what's been going on with you, man?
Nothing much. Getting ready to the holiday season. It's our daughter's first Christmas. So really excited. We've been doing all the fun photo things and showing her the lights and putting up the tree together. So it's been a lot of fun putting up or starting new traditions and stuff like that. So been really enjoying it.
Do a first Christmas card yet?
No, we got our first one in the mail, and I was like, shoot, we didn't do one yet. So I'll be talking to Maddie. Maybe we'll jump in and do
Oh,
one
okay.
soon. So it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
quite Christmas. Got a couple weeks, but
Yeah, no, I hear you.
yeah. So today we're gonna be talking about we're gonna be doing part 2 of this episode. You know how a whale shark taught me a life lesson. Last episode we talked all about my first 5 days in Baja California, where I spent my time at Rancho San Gregorio in the desert, and then today we're gonna be talking about the subsequent 5 days in the Vermilion Institute on the Gulf of California, Sea of Cortez. So I'm really excited. This was the first part of the trip was really incredible, but the second part of the trip really cemented, how impactful and important it was. Obviously, it's the title of the episode. So excited to talk about it and jump in. You got anything before I start on the story?
Yeah, I have one thing just to throw in for fun that
All
I'm
right,
doing a
what do we
little
got?
spin on this episode before we talk about the story. We're gonna do a little whale shark pop quiz. Since whale shark is gonna be the big megafauna animal of the day.
Yep.
So I'm just gonna do a few questions, Jake. These are for you. No pressure. All right.
Yeah, and we didn't do this beforehand, so I don't
Nope.
know the answers off the top of my head, but we'll see what we get.
All right. What weight can a adult whale shark get up to
That is a great question.
in tons?
I was gonna say it's got to be.
You can do pounds too, but
No, I'm gonna go tons. I don't even know. 5 tons, 10 tons, 5 to 10,
20 tons.
20. Okay, yeah.
And I
So
think
it's
that's
a
on
big animal.
massive animal, and I think that's on, the higher percentage of their size, and then the length they can get up to 20 meters, so up to 60
20,
feet. That's
60
pretty.
feet.
That
Yeah.
is a big animal.
No, they're like the size of a bus. I mean, they are
Yeah.
big. They're big, incredible, beautiful, majestic animals.
How long can they live?
I'm gonna go. Mm, I'm gonna go 75 years.
That's not a bad guess. That's probably what I would say as well. But
Hmm.
they can live up to 150 years.
Wow. No, so I was
And
half that.
apparently only 10% of all individuals make it to adulthood or adult size. So once they get there, they can get to pretty old age, 150 years. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Those
Here
are
I
the
am
only
about to talk about the trip, and I don't even know the facts of the whale shark. But no,
well,
that is good
neither of us are
background.
whale shark experts by any means. And then I didn't have any more questions, but they're found in all warm seas around the world except the Mediterranean Sea. They migrate around the world at speeds of 3 miles per hour. And just a little conservation note while we're at it. It's just some things that you can do for whale sharks or other marine life, like donate to funds or organizations that educate communities on
Hmm.
fishing of these animals because whale sharks are endangered, at least as of 2016 on the IUCN Red List, and then also just reducing your plastic waste and recycling as much as possible because that plastic floats around in the sea and it messes up a lot of marine life. So just a little conservation note to leave us with
Love it. I love
as
it.
we finish up our little whale shark pop quiz. All right.
That's a
So
good
pop
preface.
quiz
It's a
out of the
good
way.
way to start. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I
that's
like
how we're
it.
gonna start it off. So Jake, wherever you want to pick up on your story, this is part 2. So I'm ready for
Yeah.
it.
Part 2. And I encourage you guys, if you haven't, if you're listening and you didn't hear part 1, I really encourage you to go back and listen to it. It was a longer episode, but it gives a lot of context to the experiences leading up to this moment, and just kind of give a little background on why this was so impactful and important. But in part 1, we left off. We did that morning hike, kind of looking over the sunrise over that basin canyon area, looking at some of the archaeological sites there. We hiked back to camp. We had some food, and we jumped in the vans. So at this point, the first time we jumped in the vans, we were all strangers. Now we've been together for only 5 days, but we feel like we're all like super close and friends because, we've had so many fun and really, I guess, deep experiences so far. So car ride is about 4 or 5 hours, somewhere in that range, all the way across to the other side of Baja California, heading over to Bahia de Los Angeles, which is a biosphere reserve and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Pretty cool spot. But the car ride over was a lot of fun, playing music, reflecting on the experience, and the anticipation is high. I mean, I think for a lot of people, the ocean was the selling point for the trip, why they wanted to go there. And the desert had already been a 10 out of 10 experience. So I remember the vibes, the feelings in the car, the vans were just like, all right, this is going to be cool. This is going to be fun. And when you pull up, so it was a very stark difference though. Like when you pulled up to the ranch, there was, you didn't see anyone for, hours, couple hours, maybe. We were just
Mhm.
driving through the desert after you got off the highway. So, but this time when you got off the highway, you drove into a town. So it was a lot more like just kind of like a local town there. You had some grocery stores, gas stations, restaurants, whatever it was. But because it is a biosphere reserve there, it's not a super tourist area because it's not going to be somewhere where tourists are coming to be. You're not going to have people playing loud music, out drinking on the boats. Like this is a place that's
Sure.
meant to be important for the community, the local community who lives there, but then also for conservation and research and science and people who want to come there for that. So it's a very local community. You're driving through and you're kind of on this winding road through town, and you're seeing all of these really cool marine life like murals and sculptures. You're seeing sea turtle sculptures and a mural of a dolphin and whale sharks, of course. I said Bahia de Los Angeles. I'm wearing my sweatshirt, which I bought in the town there. Got the whale shark on
Sweet.
it. Had to rep it for
Yeah, it's a cool one.
had to rep it for the episode. But yeah, so driving through town, it's not a far drive until you get to the Vermilion Sea Institute, but when you're driving, you can see the ocean, like that's what you're driving towards. And it was a really cool look because you're going a little bit downhill and it looks like you're just driving straight towards the ocean. So,
Hmm.
and I remember getting there, pulling up to the Vermilion Sea Institute and just seeing the building. So it's a 2-story building, and the best way I can put it, I was trying to think about how to put it into words and really do it justice. Have you ever been to just like a really unique looking Airbnb or something? Like I'm thinking, I went to the Smoky Mountains with my friends last year, and we pulled up to the
Mhm.
Airbnb. It's just with this really cool look. It was on the water. It was gorgeous, and it kind of sets a scene for adventure. Well, that's how it was pulling up to the VSI. Like it feels like this really unique kind of building. It's an open air concept, so even when you're inside, you feel like you're outside.
Yeah.
But on top of that, it is a field station, and you feel like the scientific significance there. It feels important. It feels like studious. It had a really cool kind of blend of the two. Like, hey, this is here for conservation and field work, but it's also here to appreciate the beautiful area that this is, and so it had that perfect blend. Um, and I
Yeah.
remember the first thing. Go ahead.
Can I jump in at this point
Oh
while
yeah,
you're
yeah, of
kind of like
course.
laying out you were just talking about the building. I did a little bit of homework and
Mm-hmm.
research on the VSI before the episode, and according to their website, it was originally a headquarters for gold and silver mining activities, and now, like you were just saying, Jake, it's a center for universities and organizations to do conservation research and projects. So that's a pretty cool story how it went from the center for mining and extracting resources to one of conserving resources. So I just wanted to throw that in there while you continue on with your story.
Yeah, no, and for that purpose, it was one of the first structures, one of the first buildings
Yeah.
in that area, which I thought was really
Yep.
cool too. Like this is a very historic, important site that's had a lot of history. Obviously, gold mining to having all this. I think Stanford's been there. Miami University obviously
Hmm.
goes through Project Dragonfly, which was our program that we were on. And a lot of other scientists and researchers go there to do field work. So, and like I was talking about earlier, you're not having all these boats out there kind of interfering with your, scientific experience. It is a very protected area. So when you go out there, like you have to be part of a conservation organization or doing some sort of research to even be on the water. So that was one of the biggest things when we first got there. It was like it felt like, I've been to Mexico or maybe Florida, and you go out and you see all these fishermen and jet skis and boats and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There was none of that. It was open water. It felt like it was our trip. So I thought that was really cool. But just walking in the building, so for the first time, the first thing I noticed was every Baja trip that goes there, since it's been owned by, Lane and Megan McDonald, every Baja trip that goes there, they paint their own mural on the wall. So you're seeing, we were Baja 47, so we were the 47th trip there. So you got 46 other murals on the wall, and that was really unique because you felt again, the history and the significance of the place. And at the end, putting our mural on the wall, you felt like you got to be part of the Vermilion Sea Institute VSI, and like it, you left it, it was part of yours. So love that. Again, open air concept. So you're walking through, you got a little kitchen area, you got an area where you do your classroom stuff, but the main part was the patio, the back patio. So it's you walk out the door and you got this beautiful look of the Baja California Sea of Cortez waters. And for people who have maybe looked up trips to Cabo or even Baja California just in general, it's got a very unique look to it. So it's got these incredible rock formations, these mountains. It's not just open water. You're seeing a lot of structures out there, and which presents a lot of a lot of habitat for different wildlife. So it's one of the top 5 most biodiverse marine ecosystems in the world. And going back to last episode, talking about some of my fears and hesitations of going to Baja, I am afraid of the open water. That was my thing going there, and obviously sharks don't help that. So you got great whites there, you got tiger sharks, you got bull sharks, you got the whole slew of them. But just regardless, knowing the amount of biodiversity that is there was really cool because you felt like, in a way, like when you're at the Amazon, there's so many different things you can see. That's how you felt there. And when you walk out to the back patio, so off to the right, they had this whale shark skeleton that had been preserved. I think
Wow.
it washed up on their shores and it became like a mascot for them. So
Yeah.
they'd built it up, built a structure. And if you look up VSI, you'll see it on their website or on their any photo. Like it is very significant and prominent for them. but there's not a lot of neighbors off to the left and right. There's like a little house off to the right, and then there's like 200 yards of beach to the left of you before you get to this little local beach bar. So, and again, local beach bar, not like touristy beach bar.
Yeah.
So it's really open and empty, and it feels like, again, this is your experience. We were really the only people we saw there on the beach. So really cool way to start. And I remember anticipation obviously had been building. People want to jump in the water. People want to get there and, snorkel. And boom, we got lunch, we got lecture, we got stuff like that. But when we finally got in the water, so I was just going through some of my old GoPro videos. This was like my second time doing a real like deep snorkel adventure. Like I really never snorkeled because, again, I've always been nervous of the ocean. So, and just open water in general, which I didn't remember until I saw that GoPro video. So that was cool. But we got out there, and there was our instructor, so Megan McDonald, and the professors. They were like, hey, for people who are newer, you want to maybe learn a little about the area, come over here. But then the people who are more experienced, done scuba diving and all the other stuff, they could just jump over to the kind of rocky shores where a lot of the structures were. So you're not on a reef, but you're on these like super rocky areas. So there's a lot of places for different fish and crustaceans and echinoderms, whatever, to be there, and that's why it's so biodiverse. But I remember I started off with like the beginner level, and we got our wetsuits on. It's cold there, you need wetsuits for sure. And we're just kind of sitting there talking, getting in the groove, and I'm seeing all the people who I kind of clicked with so far off over doing their thing, and I'm like, you know what, I learned my little lecture, and then I was like, I'm gonna go over there with them. So snorkeled over there, and I don't know about you, but every time when I get in the water, like, it is going underneath the water and just everything fades. That really kind of sets the scene, and I think that is one of the most it just pulls you to the moment, right? You're not thinking about anything else outside of the water. Everything, the noise fades, you're underwater. All I can hear is my rapid breathing and, trying to like kind of control my heartbeat, get in the moment. But I swim over to them, and it's about like, I don't know, 5 to 25 feet of water, depending on, the structures where you're at. And we're seeing all these incredible fish. I pull up to, Alex and Justin, like, hey man, congrats, you're out here with us. I'm like, cool, like, just, stay by us. So we're seeing all these stingrays, fish. It was a great way to start the trip. Like, I felt like I overcame a hump, the first hurdle. We get back, and later that night, little did I know, people were going to be going night snorkeling. So when I heard night snorkeling was an option, I was like, nope, not for me. Zero chance, not happening. And I remember sitting out on the shores. I was sitting out on the patio watching people in the water. You put a flashlight in a bag, and you can literally go out there and just night snorkel with the flashlight. Yeah. And it is also bioluminescent waters. So when you're out, like, I'm sitting on the sidelines essentially, and I'm watching people swim through these, blue, you get the blue bioluminescence around them. You see the flashlights kind of poking through the water. And it was a real like life of Pi moment. And here I am, and I'm not experiencing it. And I remember feeling, I'm missing the moment. I'm not there. And just in a quick instant, I was like, I'm going in. So I went and got the wetsuit, got the gear on, and I went and jumped in the water. And I remember that was panic, absolute panic, because they're a little bit deeper. They're not like where the shore is. And when I'm swimming out there, again, that's like you got the rapid breathing going on, trying to control the heart rate. You're freezing cold. And then I get to them, and they're like, hey, cool, we're out here. I couldn't have been happier to get out there. We saw sea turtles. Wow. I remember Alex pointed out a sea turtle kind of resting by a rock. There was a few octopi, we found them over time, but they were kind of in rock crevices. One went over a rock while we were going over it. It was incredible. And I'm out there like in 20 feet of water at night, something I never thought I would do. And so when I'm wrapping up night one, you get out of the water, I've had all these incredible experiences already, just day one. And I'm sitting under the stars, and same kind of setup as the desert. You're sitting on these cots under the stars, and we're just sitting there talking, and I'm like, all right, you know what? That kind of re-cemented that moment, like, okay, I can do this. This is the type of lifestyle I want to live. This adventure is kind of getting out of my comfort zone, these experiences and stuff like that. So going to bed that night, a lot of pride, it was basically toggling panic and thrill the whole day. But it was cool. And I remember waking up the next morning, and we're getting on the boats, and it's like, oh, I can do this. The boats are easy. I can go out on the boat. It was snorkeling that was hard, but that's day one. I don't know if you got anything to jump in before I jump into the next experience. So
No, I mean, I don't have any questions, but I would got so excited when you start talking about the bioluminescent waters and seeing the animals at night. That's amazing. I haven't even gone snorkeling or scuba diving in the ocean, so it's definitely something that's on my bucket list. So hearing you talk about it is pretty special, especially coming from somebody that I know is so fearful, or at least was so fearful of the
hmm
open water. I think it's so cool hearing about especially all like the species that are in that area. Like seeing an octopus in the wild or seeing a sea
hmm
turtle in the wild would be absolutely amazing. So that's all I have to say about that.
Well, and especially at night too, because I think part of the reason I'm afraid is the lack of control. You feel like you
Yeah,
essentially are losing one of your elements. You can't just run away, or you don't have the control of, you're not quick in the water. But then
yeah,
also you can hardly see. So every time you shine your flashlight, you got in the back of your head. I remember I was like, I could not I had to just stay in the moment. If I thought of anything else, I would start to kind of, again, toggling panic and thrill. That was
yeah.
really that adrenaline there. It was like any given moment, one or the other could take over, and I just had to keep it. I had to keep it on the thrill level. But yeah, it was so cool. And truly, for anyone who has yet to experience a bioluminescent experience like that, wow, it is just breathtaking. I mean, I got a few things on my bucket list that should be on a lot of people's, like Northern Lights, bioluminescent waters, things like that. It's just, it's humbling. It's an incredible experience. So, and that was a great way to start. I couldn't believe, I still can't believe I went night snorkeling. Like, it was like, wow. But yeah, day two, we're on the boats. So we jump on these boats, and again, the Sea of Cortez there is a lot of different mountains and rock formations and stuff like that. So it's not just like open water. You got a lot of different structures that you're flying by. And the first thing that we saw was blue-footed boobies. So we stopped by one of these cool like rock formations. There's a ton of seabirds there, and one of those birds was blue-footed boobies. And I have kind of a collector's mindset when it comes to different animals, and I'm not super into birds, but obviously blue-footed boobies are a highlight. They are very well known. And so to see them in the wild and just kind of watch them interact was really a cool experience. And then as we kind of pull away from them, we're going more into open water, and out of thin air, it felt like all of a sudden our guide was like, "Oh, look, the dolphins." And there they were. You starting to see some dolphins jumping. Comes out, we're in a super pod, which is very common there. They go there for feeding and eating. They can be anywhere from like 100 to thousands of dolphins. And our guide said
Wow.
it was over 500 dolphins. And again,
Oh,
it was crazy that it happened out of nowhere, because it wasn't like in the distance you're seeing all this jumping and splashing. It was just kind of like, oh, here they are. And then all of a sudden they were everywhere. And it felt like you were in the middle of this like spectacle, this show. You had dolphins jumping all around you. I'm putting the GoPro underwater to kind of capture them swimming by, and just really seeing them all. Porpoise. I know there were some seals there too. I don't really think I
mm,
saw any, because you're just seeing so many dolphins and so much movement everywhere. But that was really incredible. And just a little tidbit about the area that we were in. So for people who know what a vaquita is, it's a small porpoise. It is the most critically endangered marine mammal on the planet. So there's only about 6 to 8 left in the world, 6 to 8, less than 10, after a survey done in 2024. So very, very few, and that is the spot where they're at. So obviously we didn't see any, but that is, I thought it was cool to be in the area where, again, one of the most rare animals on the planet was at. So,
absolutely.
but, and then a lot of the rest of the day was, so the big thing, we got the wetsuits on underneath. So this day is all about sea lions. We're trying to find sea lions to
Sure.
go snorkeling with them. And, night snorkeling was one thing. Jumping in the open water with sea lions was a whole nother thing. So I remember we stopped for lunch at an island. We're, snorkeling these little like rock formations because they have cool, biodiversity around them. And then all of a sudden, one of our guides gets a call on the radio, and they found sea lions. So we're cruising over there, and I'm like, oh no! Like in the back of my head, I almost didn't want to find them, because I was like, if I have the option to opt out, I'm going to. Even though, again, I had been building all this confidence, and I really wanted to overcome those hurdles, that was a whole new beast. And so we got there, and I was kind of on the fence about it. And then one of the girls in my boat was like, I'm not getting in. And I was like, cool, I'm not getting in, not happening. And so we're sitting watching, everyone's snorkeling, and you can hear them even above the water from underneath. You can hear the kind of barking of the sea lions. And then here comes Megan McDonald. I see her snorkeling over to our boat. I'm like, oh no, here she comes. And she's like, Jake, why aren't you in the water? And so we had another great conversation. And she's like, hey, you're going to come out here. You're going to hold my hand. We're going to be right next to each other. And then once you feel good, you're going to look around. You're going to see this sea lions. And so I'm like, all right, fine. Hard to say no in that moment. Jump in the water. It's freezing cold. It's a lot colder out in the middle of the ocean. And this is near a rock formation. So like, it's not quite as deep as like, it's not the 7 to 10,000 feet deep of water.
Yeah.
It's like 20, 30 feet. But, I remember I jump in the water, and the first thing that she does is she's like, all right, control your breathing, because I'm like, again, just, kind of panicking a little. And she dives underwater all the way down there and grabs a sea urchin. And so there's sea lions snorkeling or swimming around us, and I'm not even paying attention yet because I'm just locked into her. She comes up, and she's holding this, purple and black sea urchin. It's kind of moving in her hand a little bit. She lets me hold it. And I'm like, just, wow, look at this animal. This is so cool. And to think like a sea urchin is alive. It's not a rock, it's not sand. And just watching it kind of move a little bit on her hand, and then we just held it and then we let it go. It really took me out of that fearful moment and put me in there like, okay, we're here. I'm going to do it. I'm already in the water. And then she's like, you ready? Yeah. Went underwater, and boom, you're in the middle of like the sea lions family room. They're all swimming around everywhere, like all around us. Huge family group of them. And it was incredible. They're just gliding through the water. They're super quick. And then from behind, so I'm looking in front of me, and then behind me, you hear the barking. So there's the bull sea lion, and there he comes from behind us, kind of swims near us. That sent a little shivers down my spine. I was like, ooh, wow, look at this guy. Because they are a sexually dimorphic species. So the bulls are a lot bigger than the females. And he was kind of corralling his females, trying to, probably keep them away from us. But what an experience to just be out there in the open water with them. It's freezing cold. It's, you got all these different animals around you. The sea lions are, again, bobbing and weaving in between you, and you're just there with them. You're getting to experience them. And I thought that was one of the most, that along with what's to come, was one of the most important moments in the trip. Because when you talk about kind of, if you want to bridge the gap between people and nature, if you want to get people really into these animals, going to the zoo and seeing a sea lion is going to spark your interest. You're going to see them and you'll be like, wow, this is cool. That's the first step. You might have that initial connection, but then to see them in their home behaving how they would normally behave in the wild is just a whole nother level. And I had nothing against sea lions. I liked them, thought they were cool, but then getting to experience them in the wild, I'm like, wow, okay, this species is incredible, magnificent, all the amazing adjectives I can give them. But it really cemented that moment for me, just seeing them in the wild doing their thing. So incredible, absolutely amazing experience. All the fun of that day, we go back that night, and then we go to the local bar in the area. So that beach bar that was a couple 100 yards down. So everyone walks over there. Now, this is the first time that I've had service since we got into Baja California. So it's been about 7 days since I've talked to anyone. I remember I called my girlfriend, who's now my wife, called Maddie, and she, we're just talking, catching up. I'm telling her like, oh my gosh, I night snorkeled. I snorkeled with a sea lion. And to her, who hasn't talked to me in 7 days, she's just like dumbfounded. Like, how did you do that? I'd never, because, we go to Florida. I'm like, nope, not going in. I'm to my knees. That's where as far as I'm going. So I thought that was really cool. And then you hang up and you get to just enjoy the camaraderie of the group. Again, that's one of the reasons this trip was so special, is just all the different backgrounds and perspectives and people, and just the stories you're getting to talk about with these people. And I love that. Even the people who are the drivers and the professors there, just catching up with them and learning their story. So I think that doing those types of group bonding exercises on trips like this only make everything so much better, so much more impactful. So 2 days in Baja, and it's like, it felt like, a lifetime of experiences already. So I don't know if you got anything for me
No,
before I. Nope. All
nope.
right.
Keep it going.
Full steam ahead.
Yes, sir.
Um, so the next day was a little less eventful during the day. So now that we had done the sea lions, we'd seen the pot of dolphins and blue-footed boobies. We come to find out that the goal now is seeing the whale shark. So we have two
Hmm.
more full days and then one non-boat day before we head out. So that's the next 2 days are really dedicated to seeing the whale sharks. And it's June at this time, like middle of June. So it's early for them. They may not be there yet, just
Hmm.
kind of based on their feeding and migratory patterns. And so they, warned us we might not see them. And again, in the back of my head, I'm like, if we don't see them, I'm not gonna chicken out. And but regardless, we go out that day and we're out on the boat for a long time looking for them. And we don't find them. We actually see one fin whale. So there's like I said, very biodiverse area. You've got blue whales, you've got sperm whales, you've got fin whales, whale sharks. Which a whale shark is not a whale. It's a fish. It is it is the largest fish in the world, actually. Now, there's some whale shark trivia for you. But one fin whale just kind of breached. We saw it briefly. There's also killer whales in the area. And we're not seeing a whole lot else. We're seeing the blue-footed boobies. We're stopping at some islands to snorkel and stuff. But generally, it's not. We're not finding the whale shark. So
Yeah.
that night, I remember we came back and we ate dinner, and then everyone was excited to go snorkeling again. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do that again. It was a lot, but I was going to until we found out that they had kayaks. So a group of us went out on the kayaks and kind of went out pretty deep in the water. And I remember, so when you're looking out at the patio, there's like 15, 20 feet of like path kind of sloping down to the water. And again, this is a very rocky area. So this isn't your, grab a beach chair and go sit on the beach and sun kind of thing. This is like if you're going to go in the water, you're going to go to the beach, you're going to be snorkeling. You're going to be wearing the right gear. You don't want to be tearing up your feet and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So going down, carrying these kayaks about, 15, 20 feet down, I pick a solo kayak because I know that I'm going to want to stay out there for a bit, even if people leave. And we go out there, and I think the coolest thing was paddling, because every time you paddle, you're seeing that blue streak behind you.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
so
when you
cool.
get out there and you're sitting still, you're seeing fish swim underneath. Sometimes bigger fish, sometimes smaller fish, schools of fish. You're seeing that bioluminescent trail. So that was amazing. And when you're sitting there in that moment, it's completely still. Like there's no wind, there's no waves. It's just very still water. Moon, clear as can be, reflecting on the water. You've got the mountains in the distance. And then you're just sitting there, and I remember looking up at the stars, talking to everyone. Again, these are the moments where people get, I find, a lot more deep and vulnerable, and just kind of get into some really cool conversations. So we're having these inspiring talks, and then everyone's like, all right, I'm going back in. And so it'd probably been like half an hour, 45 minutes at this point. And I was like, all right, I'm going to stay out. And people were snorkeling at this point. So people were night snorkeling. And when we went out there, one of the guys, Joe, who was awesome, I love Joe, he was like super deep out in the water, like a lot deeper than everyone. And we're like, dude, this might be a little dangerous. He's like, no, this is great. This is the time of my life. So I'm not really paying attention to anyone behind us, but I toss in my headphones. I'm kind of sitting up looking at the stars, listening to music. I don't know if you know the song Skeletons by Travis Scott and The Weeknd, but I listened to that song, and that will forever, again, music to moments is big for me. So I always have like one song that is kind of that moment. And I will always think of it like the bioluminescent waters in Baja California. But so I'm sitting there for a while, just kind of reflecting on everything that had come to this point and everything that was to come. And then I take out the headphones and I kind of look around, and I see a white light in what I think is the water a distance ahead. So I'm like, oh, that must be Joe. And I had been paying attention to like where I was in relation to the shore,
Yeah.
So I just kind of start paddling out. I'm paddling. And then all of a sudden, it's been like 10 minutes, and I'm not getting closer to this light. And all of a sudden, I realize that the light I'm looking at is the moon reflecting off the mountain, reflecting off the water. And so I realize that, and I look back at the shore, and it is far away. And oh man, I freaked out. I started hauling back. Oops, hit the mic. I start hauling back to the shore, like cruising, total panic mode, like as fast as I can go. Blue streak behind me. And then I get back and everyone's in. I'm the only one out there. And I'm close to the shore. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm just kind of settling down a little bit. Just as I decide to go in, like I'm going to call it a night, I see a kayak coming out. I'm like, oh, someone's coming out here. Turns out it was Justin Grubb. So he hops in the water. He's like, hey, staying out? I'm like, yeah, I'll be out here. He comes out, and I talked a bit about Justin Grubb on the last episode. So he was the guy that I sat and did the shoot with the snake, the rattlesnake with.
Yeah.
And he's the guy who works with, he runs his own wildlife media company, Running Wild Media. I highly encourage people to check it out. It's an incredible company. And he takes people on trips across the globe. So up to this point, and this is important to, kind of everything that the reason I really wanted to talk about the story and why it was so impactful to me. So up to this point, I had a lot of dreams and aspirations to do things like Steve Irwin or like Dave Attenborough or, a lot of other conservationists and wildlife, warriors. But I always felt like that life was a distant dream, right? Like not like it was attainable to me. And Justin comes out in the water and we just start talking. We're sharing stories. He was instrumental in getting me in the water with the sea lions and night snorkeling and all that. He's super encouraging and incredible. And I remember he's going through, because I'm asking him like, what's your story? How did you get here? And to hear his story from how he was a zookeeper at Toledo Zoo all the way, or he was working at Toledo Zoo with the media company, all the way to where he finally was at. I mean, he's got the login to National Geographic. He's doing award-winning documentaries. Again, it feels like a distant dream. But just seeing and hearing his kind of trajectory and how he went about it and how he grew and learned and got to the point where he was, it was the first time it felt like, okay, this ambition that I have, this dream that I have, isn't just this distant dream. Like, this is something that I could work for and I could achieve. And so I'll forever remember that night. We talked for probably just a couple hours. Like, we're sitting there paddling out, bioluminescence underneath us, all the fish and everything, and just reflected on so many different things. And it was a very impactful conversation. So we went in that night, going to bed at like 2 or 3 in the morning. It was just like, wow, okay. Things were starting to change, right? At first, It was a lot of like, wow, here's these new experiences, something I didn't anticipate enjoying in the desert. And now, okay, I'm overcoming these humps. And then I had this conversation of someone who did something similar to what I want to do, and he made it. It was like, okay, things are changing. So next morning, we wake up before the sun rises. So we got me and Justin got like 2 or 3 hours of sleep. That was it. Because we're going all the way to the top of this mountain to watch the sunrise over the water. And climbing up, it was not worth it, right? I'm like calculating every step, like only as much as needed, because I'm so tired. Eyes are like half shut. But as soon as we got up there, I saw why it was worth it, and it was so amazing. You're sitting on top of this super high up mountain, and you're overlooking the Vermilion Institute is down below, but you're overlooking the entire ocean with all of these mountains and different rock formations, and you're seeing it all. And then finally, boom, the crimson sun just rises over the water, and you just see it kind of over time hitting these different rays, going higher and higher, and going from a red to orange to yellow, and to finally like the sun is rose. It was just, and everyone was dead silent when we were up there. Like, no one said a word. It was very like respected. Like, hey, this is take it in, kind of reflect moment. It was very powerful, incredible. And I remember then finally when the sun was rose, we started to have these discussions that were more related to kind of like the field experiences, but also like the inspiration and the reflection of like the journaling kind of cues that we had, which were designed to make us think differently than we had. So we're all having these really incredible conversations. Again, these moments in these places, it's cementing the experience and everything that you want to do there. We climb down and then come to find out that, it's the last day on the boats, right? We're not going out tomorrow. This is the last day on the boats. Finding a whale shark is imperative. And everyone, besides maybe me, wants to find a whale shark. So we eat some breakfast, we jump on the boats, and we're out. So we're out. And then we actually hung out at the Vermilion Institute for a couple hours first because, we're not going to, it was more of an afternoon thing. Let people rest. I think I actually took a nap on my cot. But go out in the afternoon. Now, adventure, right? The boats, I haven't really described the boats, but the boats they fit like, I don't know, probably could fit 10 people, 10, 15 people, but we have like 7 of us, including the driver. There's like shade, like middle to the back, and then there's sun, yeah, middle to the front. I tended to stand up and hold on to one of the railings just because it felt like, I don't know, I was scanning for anything in the water.
Yeah.
So I remember going out, we're on the water last day, and again, cue the John Williams music. This time you can cue the Jaws music probably.
Yeah.
You're going out, looking out to sea, and you're looking for a whale shark. That's the only goal. So we're not having a lot of luck. And again, all these different guides, people who are on our trip and then people who are doing other work, they're all on the same radio channel. So they're all communicating with each other. If they see a whale shark, they're going to shuffle everyone there to let them see it. And then finally, probably like 3 hours after being gone on the boat, like hopes are low at this point that we're going to see one. You hear this frantic radio traffic in Spanish. So the guides were, local. You hear this frantic radio traffic, and I'm like, oh, that's it. Guide flips the boat around, and we're cruising. Like, we're flying now. And he's like, whale shark, whale shark. So we're going to the area, and all the boats had kind of spread out. So when we get there, the other 2 boats, because there was 3 of our boats there with the trip, were already, people had already been in the water, and people were finishing up. So you can only have 3 people in the water at once with a whale shark. Again, this is a protected area, and that's just kind of the rules to protect these animals, not overwhelm them, which I really appreciate. Sure. The last group from the 2 boats was in the water. So they're like, all right, first group, there's going to be 3 groups in our boat. And I'm like, I'll be in the last group. Whale shark swims away, swims away. First group jumps in, second group jumps in, and now it's go time. Now there's no thinking. It's a very high adrenaline moment. There's a lot of like commotion going on, a lot of noise. Sea lions were parked where we were at. Like they kind of knew this is their home. This is where they hang out. So we got to just jump in and enjoy the moment. This was like, this whale shark is here now, and it can swim. It was swimming. It can swim away at any point. Yeah. So I remember sitting on the edge of the boat while the second group was in, and I'm holding onto the railings, feet in the water. You got all your gear on, and I'm just sitting there, hearts racing. Out of the 2 girls who were going in with me to the right and left, and the guide. So the whale shark kind of disappeared for a moment, and that group comes back in. And the guide is like, go, go, go. We jump in. And he said, he had told us, like, jump in and then look for my direction because he was scanning to find it. And so he's like, go, go, go. We jump in. And I remember, now you're in the middle of the water. Like, we're not near any rock formations. This is the open ocean. So I come to find out we're in, like, 10,000 feet of water. Like, this is, like, the ocean.
And did you know that before you jumped in, or did you find out after how deep it was?
I found out how deep it was after, but you just knew where you were. It was and this is like,
that's true, yeah.
So a lot of where we had snorkeled up to this point was pretty calm. The sea lion area was a little choppier, but it was near like kind of a rock formation island, not quite an island, but a spot where you could technically go run up on if you needed to. But there was nothing near here, so like you knew this was deep water, and when you jump in, like it is. All you see is blue, right? It's just blue. And so I remember I look up at the guide, and he just points in a direction, and so I just start snorkeling or swimming as fast as I can. Again, adrenaline is high, so I'm basically pure adrenaline at this moment.
Yeah.
Cruising, then boom, all of a sudden I was like, whoa. I felt like I was running up on this whale shark, and it's just gliding there, just sitting there and gliding. And I come up to it, I'm a couple feet away, and I must have been in its wake because I just was cruising along with it. And honestly, everything in that moment disappeared. Like the world, my family, everything disappeared. And it was me and that whale shark. And that was it. And I'm just swimming there and I'm looking at it. And it just like, it's whale sharks are filter feeders. So they're not, dangerous animals. They're very gentle giants. And I'm here with this gentle giant gliding alongside of it. It's enormous. What do we say? 10 tons up to 60 feet. It's a big animal, and it's humbling. And I'm just there. And I was swimming with it for 5 minutes. I knew that because I had my GoPro out recording. And after probably 3-4 minutes of this just peace and tranquility, an incredible moment, I look back to see where the other 2 girls were that I was snorkeling with. And they're not there. They're not to my left. So then I turn all the way around, and they're not there. Then I turned back around to the whale shark, and it's not there. And I'm like,
No.
oh yeah, like gone in an instant. I turned around to find them for
Oh,
probably 10 seconds, and they were gone. I turned back around, whale shark gone. Now I pop my head out of the choppy water, and the boat is far. I'm talking like 100 yards, like a football field away. And
wow.
so I just, again, like I was paddling back to the shore, I was flying back to that boat as fast as I could, which probably isn't good because, I probably was like a flailing animal for a shark. But anyways, got all the way back to the boat, didn't even stop. I just like propelled out of the water. And I remember I have the GoPro on me. It was a cool moment, but I'm like, we did it. And everyone's just cheering and, celebrating the moment. And what a moment. It just in general, just everyone's energy's high and excited. We did it. We had conquered this. We got to see this beautiful animal, and it was just really the highlight of the entire trip. So we get back that night. We have some fun games. We have a celebration that night. Everyone's just kicking it back, talking, music, fun, because it's the last night we're going to be there. We're leaving in the afternoon the next day. And yeah, we finish off the trip on a high, on a really high note. And I remember Megan McDonald came up to me that night, and she had cheered and celebrated with everyone else. But then when we got back to the Vermilion Sea Institute, she pulled me aside and she just talked about how proud I was, and she hoped that I really reflect on the moment and see how I overcame that fear, a fear that again I wasn't going to do. And then on the drive back to San Diego. So now we're in the cars, everyone's driving back, and I'm just, putting some music on. I'm just thinking, I'm reflecting on this moment. And 10 days ago, and I guess 9 days ago at this point, I left Chicago, flew to San Diego, and I was like very skeptical of the desert. Like I was like, maybe this will be okay. I kind of had these hesitations, preconceived thoughts, like, I don't know. I wasn't super excited. I didn't think it would be all that fun. And then on the other half of the trip, I was super nervous and I didn't think that this huge fear I had, I was going to be able to accomplish it. And then here I was, 9, 10 days later, and I had one of the most incredible, beautiful experiences of my life, but also one of the impactful, 5, 10 days that I've ever had. And just seeing how, now let's get to the topic of the episode, the 2-part episode, how a whale shark taught me a life lesson. So getting out of your comfort zone, getting out of my comfort zone allowed me for exponential growth. Again, before I went on this trip, there was no way I was ever going to do any of those experiences that I had ever done, that I did. And in those moments, I still wanted to back out because I had these mental barriers, these things that I was not willing to overcome, and I didn't have to. It was my choice. But when I allowed myself to get out of my comfort zone and learn who I was in those moments, because you're not out of your comfort zone a lot, I found that I could accomplish a lot of things. I could do things that I didn't think I could. And so as much of those experiences have led me to think differently in all aspects of life, all aspects of my life. Just knowing that getting out of my comfort zone is maybe not always fun and sought after, but there's a lot of growth involved in just changing yourself and learning who you are, really. But then additionally, again, I was talking about those aspirations and dreams I had. If I didn't meet Justin, if I didn't overcome these huge mental barriers that I had, I don't know if I ever would have started down this path of doing what I'm doing now. I mean, I started the Dreamers Initiative on that way home, wrote it down in my journal, right? It would start off the Dreamers Kingdom, became the Dreamers Initiative, and that's been the journey I've been on for the past 5 years to be a conservationist and benefit to this planet, because I realized that these barriers I had in my head were only made by me. And
Yeah.
if I wanted to do what I wanted to do, I just had to do it. I had to get out of my comfort zone. I had to be willing to grow and change. And so, yeah, it was just one of the most incredible 10 days I've ever had. To all the people on that trip, Megan McDonald specifically, because she was incredible, but also to my, close friends, Justin and Joe, well, Joe was a good friend too. Justin and Alex and Joe and Brian and Cole and Lauren, all these people that were there. It was really impactful. And now, 5 years later, I still felt like it was very important for me to reflect on the experience because of how much it taught me and how much I learned. Woo, that was a lot of talking. Whew.
Dude, that was awesome.
Yeah.
While you're talking, because I got to rewind to the whale shark real quick.
Yeah.
How close are you to the whale shark while you're swimming with it?
I could touch it. You can reach out and touch it.
Oh my God, are you kidding
Yeah.
me?
Yeah. So you're right there. And there are, again, rules associated with being out there. It's a protected area. We're people who are in science. We
Yeah.
want to do the things that are right and, respect nature. So, the two rules were only 3 people in the water at a time, which were obviously enforced by our guides and our teachers and professors and stuff. And then it's don't touch the whale shark. Don't touch the animals.
Okay.
So, I didn't. I could have. I didn't. But it was right there. It was super close.
Incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely amazing. I don't even have any closing questions if that's where you want to leave it off. You answered them all along the way.
Yeah.
And what a way to finish off the trip on the last day. Whiffed on seeing the whale shark every day out on the boat up until then. And then it comes and you're the last one out in the water with the shark because it disappeared after that.
The last one.
Yeah. The last one out there. So.
And after that, it was gone. Like, it wasn't like we kind of watched it for a bit. When I got back in the water, like, it was gone. So it had disappeared.
Dude,
which is kind of poetic in a way.
Dude, that gave me goosebumps when you said you looked around to see, like, oh, where's everybody at? Because there were 2 other people in the water with you. They're not there. And then you turn around, whale shark's not there.
Mm-hmm.
That was amazing.
Yeah, that was a spooky moment. Because, again, going back to something I said a couple times earlier, kind of toggling thrill and panic, both of those things disappeared in that moment, and it was total peace. It was just that moment. Like, it's so significant to me that I could try to describe it 100 times. I'll never get quite what it felt like. No. But just in that moment, it was so peaceful and relaxing. But then to turn around, both times and see that I was completely alone in the water, deep, deep water, pure panic, like 100%. Like, I'm getting back to the boat right now, like nothing else. So, but yeah, and honestly, so I was doing some more research on the Vermilion Institute and just everything that they do. One of the things that I respect so much about them is they are so invested in their local community there. So a lot of what they came to find, and we talked about, I mean, there are so many things that I'm leaving out of this experience because I've already been talking for 51 minutes, and they're, not going to go for 2 hours, 3, 5 hours, however many I could. But, one of the other things they do is the local people in that area, especially the kids, really don't have an outlet or an avenue to go do what we did, right? Get out on the water, snorkel, get out on the boats. Because, again, they have the boats because they're part of the field station there and they're part of the conservation. But, the local community just lives there. And maybe these people don't have the funds, they don't have the means, whatever it may be. But they get these kids who live in the area invested in their home. And I think that's so important because if, people are going to protect their own surroundings, their natural surroundings, the people who live there and actually care for these species and coexist with them, I think it's important for them at a young age to have the ability to go out and experience them because not everyone does. And that was a very similar experience I had when I was in Peru. A lot of the kids don't get to go out in the Amazon rainforest, and therefore there's this dissociation between, where they live and the animals that live around them. And again, we're talking about bridging the gap here with the Dreamers Initiative, Chasing Wild. Everything that we want to do is about people and nature coming together. That's so important. And it was beautiful. So everything that the Vermilion Sea Institute did, Rancho San Gregorio, getting students out there, all of it, so impactful and just generally so incredible. So amazing experience. And I'm happy I had an outlet, an opportunity to talk about it here on the Chasing Wild podcast.
Yeah, dude, beautifully said. And I can see I didn't know you before this trip, obviously.
Yeah.
But hearing you talk about the ways that this trip in specific throughout these past 2 episodes has changed you has really been really eye-opening. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if others that have gone on the trips through Project Dragonfly and other programs have been changed in similar ways. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the beauty of these trips, is
Yeah.
how they can change a person on an individual level and really leave these lifelong, you know, these lifelong personal changes in this growth and these goals and visions for the rest of your life after you've returned home and move on to your next steps. So I think it's a beautiful thing, and I love how you tied it in with what they try to do with the local community, because that's a
Mm-hmm.
really beautiful thing. And hopefully others can do that around the world, like you said. So really well
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, definitely a transformative experience. And
Absolutely.
the absolute last thing I'm going to say, the one of the things that's cool is I was talking to, again, Maddie, my wife, who we were dating at the time that I went to Baja. I was talking to her even just, yesterday and today, like, just kind of recapping the experience, kind of getting back to the moment, because it was 5 years ago. And I always think it's so incredible to see how the people around you notice your change when you go somewhere. Like, Maddie has very often said that I was never the same when I came back from Tanzania, in a good way, not a bad way. And I was also never the same when I came back from Baja. And those were two experiences that I hold very near and dear to my heart. So to see that other people saw my transformation, my change, however I grew, getting out of my comfort zone in those moments, is it kind of gives you all that, I don't want to say credibility, but everything that you thought happened did happen. And so it's really incredible. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for today. So for everyone who was there with us on the journey for the two-parter, How a Whale Shark Taught Me a Life Lesson, thank you for jumping in. Had a lot of time, a lot of fun talking about this experience that was so important to me. Go check out Baja California. I mean, there's so many different incredible spots along the way, along the whole peninsula. Shout out to Rancho San Gregorio, all the people there doing their work, Vermilion Institute, everyone there doing their work. A lot of incredible people doing really impactful work there in the field. So that's it for today, and we will see you next time on the Chasing Wild podcast. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for listening.